Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Donald Trump, the former president, defending his economic proposals, including more direct control of the Federal Reserve.
I think it's the greatest job in government. You show up to the office once a month and you say, let's see, flip a coin. And everybody talks about you like you're a god. Oh, what will he do? I think that if you're a very good president with good sense, you should be able to at least talk to him. I don't say make the decision at all.
Trump sidestepping whether he would replace Fed Chair Jay Powell before his term expires in 2026. We get lucky this morning. Joining us now is the Cantor Fitzgerald CEO, Howard Lutnick, also serving as co-chair of Trump's transition team. Howard, it's good to see you, sir. Welcome.
Good to see you.
This is a big job, and I don't think people outside the United States realize how big this job actually is. So let's start there. Walk us through how big this position is for you and how busy you might be in the next few months.
All right, so the President of the United States gets to put 4,950 political appointees into the government. So 3,700 can take the field on January 20th, and 1,200 go through the Senate confirmation process, which takes a long time.
So you've got to start thinking about people like yesterday. So let's talk about that. The last time the president was in the White House, he attracted a lot of talent. And we can think of several names. Ambassador Lighthizer came up in a conversation with Bloomberg yesterday. That's one. Gary Cohn's another. Some of the nominations to the Federal Reserve too, including Governor Waller to go to the board. Came with a lot of churn, though, at the time, in the first term. How do we get one, attract the talent, but avoid all the churn at the same time? How's the approach going to differ this time around?
Well, remember, last time he was a freshman. You know, he comes in the first time, he's not really sure exactly how it goes, and so he acts a certain way. Now, complete experience, complete knowledge, knows exactly what he wants, and how he wants to do it. So what'll happen is you're going to see the greatest set of talent ever walk on the field on January 20th. You've never seen anything like it. So what I've done is I've talked to probably the top 150 business people across the United States of America, and probably the top 50 political people, and they've analyzed everybody. And what they do is I call it genealogy. You go to these people, so it's 200 people. They then recommend and vouch for everybody. You have to vouch for them and say, I know them, I've worked with them, and then they vouch for it, and it goes down like that. And so we have 5,000 people already that we know who have been vouched for by the greatest people. You got Ross Perot in energy and Chuck Schwab doing finance, and everybody, they are helping, they're building, and they're creating for Donald Trump the greatest group of people who will ever walk on the field for an administration. He's got one term. I mean, I spent Sunday 2 hours with Elon Musk. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, I put out a tweet talking about what we did, right? I mean, you know, I'm a social media star, of course, right? You guys know. 43 million views talking about how we're going to pay for everything that Donald Trump talks about. Right? He's going to take $1 trillion out of the budget deficit a year because we waste. We have a $6.5 trillion budget deficit. We have a $6.5 trillion budget, $2 trillion budget deficit.
Howard, can we get back to the experts, though? Do they have to agree with everything the former president says?
I think it's like, if you think of it like a CEO of the company, he's the CEO of the United States of America. Let's call it United States Incorporated, okay? He's the CEO. You can argue all you want and discuss it. But when the boss says this is what we're going to do you have a problem doing what the boss says they're going to do? You always have two choices. You can quit or you can execute the plan. This concept of doing what you want to do, because I don't think he's right, throwing banana peels, you get fired in America, you get fired at every company, and the fact that all these people who he fired in the first term say, oh, I don't like him anymore. This is a famous disgruntled employee. Duh. Let's call all the disgruntled employees, and what are you going to get from them? Oh, I don't like that guy anymore.
Because you said to the Financial Times, we're going to give people the role based on their capacity, what you're saying here, and their fidelity and loyalty to the policy as well to the man. Is that how you run your company? People have to be loyal to you?
Absolutely. Imagine working at Cantor Fitzgerald and saying, I'm disloyal to Howard Lutnick. Or
well,
better,
can they
how about all of you?
you?
How about all of you look at the screen and say, to heck with Mike Bloomberg. Let's see how that goes. Well, you'll be like, ta-ta.
Can they disagree with you?
You must disagree, but that's called challenging conversation. That's what the Oval Office is all about. You bring in 5 people. I mean, Donald Trump loves conversation. He loves to get all sides of the idea. But then you make your choice and you go where the elected president of the United States of America goes. You go where Mike Bloomberg goes. If you work at Cantor Fitzgerald, you go where Howard Lutnick wants you to go. And anybody who says otherwise, I don't even know what they're talking about. This is like make-believe politics, right? You follow the man and you follow after the conversation, but you have to have fidelity to him. None of this nonsense.
This is your opportunity to talk about it, so let's talk about it just a little bit more. You talked about how many people you've had discussions with to fill some of these spaces. How much of them will come from private industry? Is that going to be a big emphasis for you and the team?
It is. So my ideas that we talked about with the president, obviously everything I do, I'm just sort of the mission for the man, right? Is let's go get the people who understand business, understand the math of $6.5 trillion, couple them with, have them partners with people who deeply understand government, then get really, really good, deep insiders of government, and together create a team, right, to go take the field together. So imagine you spend $6.5 trillion, and we have $1 trillion of waste. So Elon Musk and I, we discussed $1 trillion of waste and billions, tens of billions, and then hundreds of billions of money we can make. You heard Donald Trump talk about tariffs. $500 billion of revenue will come from tariffs.
I want to just dig into what you just said. $1 trillion of waste. What will be cut?
What will be cut? You have monopoly providers. For 50 years, we buy the same product from the same company. For 50 years in a row. Just imagine NASA for a second, shall we? Right? $8 billion human budget, right? Just like paying people.
You know, there's an obvious follow-up.
Do you know that
Yes,
SpaceX spends
spends
$12 billion in launch rockets?
The obvious
NASA spends $8 billion.
Is the follow-up that I would ask. We can keep doing this. I'll just keep going too.
So let's have fun.
The obvious follow-up that I would have is the same one that I'd have for anyone who came from the Harris campaign. I'd ask them the following. You had 4 years. Why didn't you do it then? Why is there that much more to cut now? Why didn't this happen in the first 4 years?
Oh, I don't think he understood the scale and scope of the rot. He started calling it the swamp. Like we all call it the swamp right now. Why? Why do we call it the swamp? Because he called it the swamp. The problem is it's not really that. It's just these employees of the government are part of the business of spending. Right? It's like if I spend and I assist, like I make, the most you can make in the government is $183,000. All right, so I'm making $183,000, and I participate in giving this project of $20 billion, $10 billion to these 3 companies, right? And I worked here for 5 years. Where am I getting my job next? I go to one of those 3 companies, and then I make a lot of money. So they all become lobbyists. The generals become lobbyists. All these people. The Defense Department spends $1 trillion. And they don't make the stuff. They buy it from other people.
You said that it's important to have a lot of people who are in business come into the administration.
Absolutely.
A lot of people in business think that the plans as laid out are going to increase the deficit dramatically. They don't see how this actually decreases expenses, especially with tariffs that could potentially slow international trade, but also with the prospect of a lot of tax cuts. What are they all getting wrong?
So the tax cuts are already in the current world, right? He's just going to make permanent the 2017 tax cuts. And then, so that's number one. Number two, he's going to encourage people to build here and pay taxes. Let's go over what Apple does right now. Here's a simple example. They make the parts in China.
Yeah.
They put the parts together in Taiwan. Then they wave their magic wand and it floats over Ireland. Of course it floats over Ireland because that's where Apple does its products. And then it comes to America and they make, I don't know, something like 3% profit in America. They pay corporate tax on 3% profit in America. And Ireland announces a massive budget surplus for their 5 million people. Ha. So it's just not true. So the concept is have them pay their taxes in America, and that is how you fix America. You make it fair, you make it right, and you build
This is
here,
important. So no exceptions for Apple. No carves out for Apple.
There shouldn't be carve-outs for Apple. I spoke to Elon Musk and I said, if we do this correctly, Tesla's going to have to pay more tax. You know what he said? If everybody's the same, that sounds great. He goes, I can't do it differently at Tesla if other companies are doing it, but if we're all the same and we're all paying the fair tax, then I am all for it. And I think everybody's all for it as long as it's, you got to get rid of the arbitrage. Why is Ireland announcing a surplus? Give me a break. It's all our business.
15% is the corporate tax rate, the president, if you build here.
If you build it here.
100%? Any inputs from other countries? What is the nuance to making products?
I spoke to a manufacturer. He says he does 50% here, 25% in China. How do we do it? If you tariff me in China, the Chinese backed companies, they will cover the tariff, so we'll get the money, but he'll be at a disadvantage. And we came up with this idea. If you build it here within 2 years, you can have a tax credit for any tariff you pay, as long as you move your plant within 2 years to America. You can have your money back, but build it here. See, American workers just haven't gotten a fair shake. Do you know American workers' life expectancy is 7 years less if you don't have a college degree than if you have a college degree? How is that possible? Because if you gut their factories and you take their jobs away, right? You know what it is? It's despair. It's despair. It's not the air. It's not the food. It's despair. Finally, Donald Trump is saying, I'm going to take care of the American worker. And anybody who comes up with this nonsense of that it doesn't work is just not actually studying it.
One thing that a lot of business leaders who I speak to are concerned about is they need stability. They need to have a sense of what the policy is. They need to have a sense of what the legal system is going to be for them to operate their business. One of their biggest fears right now with Donald Trump is that they're not going to have that certainty, with things being used as potential carrots or sticks to try to induce certain policies and a lack of understanding of what the structure is. How do you counter that?
I counter it with basically straightforward, let's protect the American workers, okay? Let's build in America. Let's make it fair so the arbitrage where Apple doesn't run all their profits through Ireland, pay America their money. I think America could increase its revenues $250 billion a year by paying attention to the nonsense that corporate world does on global production. It's nonsense that Ireland makes money. It's nonsense that you build cars in Mexico. It's nonsense.
So okay? Howard,
when the nonsense ends, you will be shocked by how great America is. You take $1 trillion of waste out, and then you focus on the country fairly. You're going to have the possibility of balancing the budget of the United States of America at the end of his term. No nonsense. I'm not making up old baloney. Elon Musk and I, if you don't respect the two of us, good luck to you, okay? It can happen because he's focused on not wasting the vast waste that is our budget and the way we run things.
That would be a big hole to fill and quite an accomplishment given the tax cuts that are on the table in this campaign. So we could talk about this all morning. We're out of time. It's good to see you. A spirited conversation as always with Howard Lutnick of Cantor Fitzgerald.